that's the kid. We're stepping on that.
Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Engineer. You're getting sleepy. No, sorry,
Yeah.
You're getting engineering. You're getting engineering. We're here at the Adafruit factory in downtown Manhattan. There's a thunderstorm / hurricane / tornado going on, so power and internet might go out. We'll just be chill, everybody. We'll
Try our best to get back online. We'll see, but
it's outside of our control. Mother Nature is punishing us. She's trying to tell us something.
Maybe.
Mr. Ladyada was with me, doing the best we can, staying dry. There also might be water dripping, but you know, it's cool. We got an exciting show for you, about 1 hour of all the latest news in Python, hardware, electronics, keyboards, and more. We're going to be here till about 9 o'clock, and let's just get right into it.
Okay, on tonight's show, the code is proximity. I'll tell you why later in the show, but it's 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to probably 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. But sometimes I turn off the code a little bit earlier, so use the code on checkout, 10% off anything in stock tonight only. Talk about our Adafruit Live series shows, including Show and Tell. Got some time travel, look around the world, makers, hackers, artists, engineers, news, and more. Some Made in New York City factory footage, some 3D printing, Eye on NPI, brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. We got some new products, we got Top Secret. We'll answer your questions. We do that on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. Join all 30,000 of us. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer. Okay, well, let's do a couple things to pay the bills first.
Yes.
And then I'll jump into some of the topics tonight. So
Code,
don't forget
code.
proximity. And also, before you check out today, tomorrow, or the next day, it's a holiday on Monday.
Yes.
And so it's Labor Day here in the U.S., September 6th, so we will not be shipping things until Tuesday, and it might be a little slow on Tuesday getting all the stuff out the door, so just keep that in mind when you place an order. We'll put banners on the site and in the outbound emails when you place an order, but just please keep it in mind. And if you're off on Monday, please stay safe. While you're adding stuff to your cart, though, you get free things.
Yes, only when you order from Adafruit. We give you freebies, $99 or more. You get a free PermaProto half-size breadboard. Great for taking your projects off of a breadboard and making them permanent and nice and solid. I loved using something like this in school. I wish I'd had this exact design. This is exactly what I would have loved, so I designed it, and we're giving it away to you. $149 or more, you get a free Stemma QT board. We have a range of 20-ish different boards. We'll give you a different one each time if you make an account. These plug-and-play sensors and devices are awesome and easy to use, and so many boards now are coming with Stemma and QT connectors and quick connectors. So, this can be a solderless way to extend your projects, which is super awesome. UPS ground shipping comes free when you order $199 or more of stuff. That's continental United States ground shipping. We love it because it's insured and tracking, and it's reliable, and there's a friendly delivery person that brings your package. $299 or more, you get a free Circuit Playground Express, our all-in-one development board. It's round. It features a SAMD21. It's got LEDs and buttons and sensors and more. Capacitive touch. Easy to use with Arduino, CircuitPython, Code.org, CS Discoveries, MakeCode, MicroLisp, and more.
Okay. Before we talk about our live shows, I saw a question I can just answer quickly because they heard the rain and everything. They want to know where's Adafruit in our building. So we have multiple floors.
Yes.
So if there's...
We're not on the ground floor.
We're not on the ground floor. And so if we have any really bad weather, not all floors are going to get
We flood from the top,
impacted.
not from the bottom.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
So,
it's okay. Look,
anyways.
it's an older building. We're in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
not as old as buildings in Europe, but for New York, it's fairly old.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about some of our shows. So we have a bunch of live shows that we do each week. We just finished Show and Tell. Really neat Show and Tell this week. Air quality is
Check it
the
out.
theme. I think that was the
Yeah,
theme
we got some
this week.
whippersnapper demos too.
Yeah, Mark showed. Mark's on the Whippersnapper beta. If you ever want to be on the beta, folks, let us know in the IO chat in Discord. It's a no-code solution, and yes, we've made it too easy to do Internet of Things. It's our fault. I'm so sorry. But there's a lot of annoying websites out there that you can go visit later.
Yeah.
Our thing will be too easy. Other
Yeah.
ones, they're making it too hard.
Yeah.
Sunday, Desk of Ladyada.
That was me.
Part 1.
Okay,
What'd you
so
talk about?
I talked about remapping LEDs and pixels. This is just one of those things that you got to do when you're an engineer. You'll have like a grid or circles or you'll have some elements, and you have to map those elements to pins or something. And there's always like, well, what's the foolproof, easy, fast way to do it? And the answer is there isn't. You just kind of go through one by one. I actually did the mapping for the matrix, finished it today. I just sat down. It just takes an hour or two, and you do it. So I talked about that and just some of my tips and tricks and techniques. I also showed off this paper shoot camera, which is like a low-cost DIY camera PCB, and showed off some photos and picked out some parts that were on the paper shoot, including this kind of nice 4-way switch, which was the great search item.
Yeah, we do this thing called Great Search every single week, brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. And what we talk about is using ladyada's powers of good to find things on the DigiKey site. So this week was the
4-way switch.
Some of these are on guitars, someone said.
Yeah, I mean, they're used on, various, things that need a lot of selectors but don't have an interface. A lot of people, to be honest, I see a lot of products these days that use a single button or they use a touch screen. Switches are actually a little bit archaic. I personally like them. I think they're reliable and easy to use. But it's just, the difference between SPDT, DPDT, SP3T, and 4T. I just kind of go through it and give you some options, also tell you what to look for different slide switches. I love slide switches. I think they're just so intuitive.
Yeah. Okay. Since we talked about I/O, I thought we can just answer a couple quick questions as we go along.
Sure.
I'm trying to intersperse more questions. Also, folks, sometimes they don't believe that anyone would do a live show. Certainly not for a decade.
It's not live, we're robots.
Yeah. Well, no, we're not robots.
We're very good robots.
So, is it possible to do a live webcam snapshot and then send it over to I/O, pull it down to MagTag or an LED
Yeah,
matrix?
we actually have a ESP32S2 CircuitPython webcam demo. We have a couple webcam demos to I/O. I mean, it's not going to be very fast because I/O is rate limited. Part of the deal is we make it free, but we don't let you kind of just like blast data to it. So it's not a webcam server, but you can take photos, and especially if you want photos to be taken based off of a sensor or some event that would cause a photo, for sure.
Okay. All right, next up. So other live shows we do, we have JP's Product Pick of the Week every single week. This is also something that's remarkable, strange, unique, interesting. We do a live broadcast from inside of a product page.
Yes.
And within,
and we give discounts.
Massive discounts. So this week's Product Pick of the Week, take it away, JP. It's Power Boost.
The Power Boost 1000C. It is a boost that takes your batteries from 3.7 up to about 5.2 volts, and it's a charger. I'm going to power a Raspberry Pi 4. I'm going to go ahead and run my little battery through the Power Boost, through this USB cable into the C port there. You can see it's started booting up. Obviously, you're not going to run this for very long on this little battery. I would guess an hour or something on this little battery, but you could go up to a big chonker donker like that right there. This is the Lucio Blaster running that exact Power Boost 1000C. I integrated a little charging port here into the side. Then I have the enable grounded right now. If I flip this switch, it will turn on and supply power. And all of that is being powered by our Power Boost, the Power Boost 1000C.
All right, and JP's workshop is coming up on Thursday, and we also do a segment. But while we're here, again, I'm trying to sprinkle more questions in.
Yes, ask.
So someone was asking, because
Yes.
JP's going to be doing a Trinky segment on the show soon.
Yes.
Is there a board that you could plug all the Trinkies into?
Yes, it's called a USB hub.
Ah, and so that's a fun thing that you could do. There's probably some really neat hubs. I kind of feel like in the keyboard world, there's the artisanal looking keyboards. Like maybe one day it'll be like a hub thing where people will make.
Well,
their
there
own
is
hubs.
wasn't there a crowd supply like a CircuitPython hub? I think.
Yeah, there is.
Like a smart hub.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out.
No, I mean one that's like everyone designs all the different covers and cases for
Oh,
it.
yeah, like custom USB. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah,
I
and
could
then
see
you
that.
plug in all your Trinkies.
Yeah,
Anyways, so we'll have a feature segment on there, and it'll probably be part of the CircuitPython Parsec, which was also on the shows this week. Take it away, JP, for this week's highlight.
For the CircuitPython Parsec today, I want to show how you can create a color helper module. What is this all about? Well, when I'm using NeoPixels, I have certain colors that I like to use a lot. I want to reuse these colors, and rather than just copy and paste them from some document into my code, what I've done here is created a separate file. It's a separate module, and you can see it right here. It's just called jpcolors.py. And in this, I have defined a bunch of colors that I like to use. So red, green, blue, you'll notice. You'll also see here I've got this amber color that I really like to use a lot. And it's not one that I typically remember, hey, what exactly is amber? What's a good formula for that? So once you've tuned those and dialed those in once, you can save those variables in a class here. And this class I've created is called color. I've defined a bunch of color values, and then I save this as a separate module file on my CircuitPython device. Then you'll see inside of my code.py, when I want to use that, I'm simply importing it right here from jpcolors, import color. So that imports that class from that module file. Then, whenever I want to use colors, I can just simply call them by name down here. So I've created this little function called chase that creates these nice little chase effects. And the only input that I have to that is what color chase are we going to do? So if I want to use my amber color, then I say chase color.amber, and the rest is taken care of for me. So I have cyan, magenta, red, black, and white. And so that is a really simple way that you can create some variables that you want to reuse all over the place in a separate file. And that is how you can create a color helper module inside of CircuitPython. And that is your CircuitPython parsec.
All right, don't forget on Fridays, Deep Dive with Scott. I think Scott's going to be working on some really neat Raspberry Pi stuff and CircuitPython.
And Bluetooth. Oh,
and
yeah,
Bluetooth
who knows
and
exactly?
more.
Maybe
So
actions.
check that
I don't
out. Time travel. Let's look around in the world of makers, hackers, artists, engineers.
Okay, what is the news?
Well, news. I just want to shout out, hey, Jorvin. Jorvin's in our chat. Hi,
Oh,
Jorvin.
nice.
Yeah.
Hello.
We just wished Jorvin a happy birthday not too long
Happy
ago.
birthday to
Well, it was a
you.
little while ago, and I'm just like, hey, here's some
Happy
Adafruit stuff.
birthday
Go make some
to you.
robot companions. Anyways,
Happy robot birthday.
so
Okay.
Phil B did a really neat video this week. This is part of the
Vintage
vintage
computer-
computing.
Yeah, I can't make it to Vintage Computer Fest because we're not going to
Yeah.
be doing indoor stuff, but this is just as
But
good.
why should we when Phil B
watch
can
these
just do a movie,
videos.
a little video each week?
Check it out.
Another item from the Vintage Box. It's a Philips VG8010 computer, which, if you've never heard of, that's okay, I'll explain. Before IBM clones became really ubiquitous, there were dozens of incompatible computers, and if you bought into one ecosystem, you were shut out of everything else. MSX was an early standardized home computer architecture. Software that ran on one machine would generally run on all the others. Functionally, it was mostly RAM and number of cartridge slots that distinguished them. Since these machines were all largely the same, companies relied on industrial design to set themselves apart, and some of these are really amazing. MSX was popular in Japan, Brazil, and much of Europe. Only 2 models were even sort of sold here. So, being from the US, I have no particular nostalgia for this machine, I just think it looks so cool. I mean, just look at this keyboard. They really leaned into this 80s squared off aesthetic. It's like the 80s mall food court or the Volvo station wagon of computers. We gotta bring this look back. Who's with me?
Okay, and I have a reminder for a reminder to
Reminder.
remind me to mention that AdaBox is almost already full again before we even ship in October.
We will run
So-
out. Halloween's our most popular box.
Yeah, and
Don't you want to join the cool unboxing with JP?
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
last year, I thought that maybe people wouldn't do as many subscription services because there was lockdowns, there was other things because like maybe money would be tight.
Yeah.
But I feel like people are trying to get the most value out of a gift or something they do, and
They're
AdaBoxes
also home.
do that.
It's fun. It's
Yeah,
it's guaranteed success.
So more people subscribed. In fact, the last AdaBox was the most we've ever shipped, and this one will probably top that as well. So go to adabox.com and consider doing it because we will run out. And there's also a global chip shortage supply, so this is the for sure way to get some really good new Adafruit hardware. Okay, Collins Lab Notes every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. We have miniature versions of Collins Lab. Collins Lab Notes. And I'm going to play...
You wanna play them all?
I'm going to play the one that went out, I think, yesterday.
Okay.
So take it away.
But they're all good. Check
They're
them out
all good.
on
I'm
the
gonna pick-
TikToks, the Twitters, the
Yeah,
Instagrams. Wherever you can view
put 'em
1 minute
everywhere.
long videos, we post them there.
Yeah.
The voltage divider is one of the fundamental circuits used in electronics. You'll find it used again and again in schematics once you know to look for it. In its most common form, the resistive divider, two resistors are connected in series between a voltage source and ground to create a reference voltage. The relationship between these resistor values determines that reference voltage available at the node between them. We can use this simple equation to determine that voltage. So, with a 5-volt supply voltage, a first resistor value of 10k ohms, and a second value of 20k ohms, the voltage available between the resistors should be about 3.33 volts. And so it is. Thanks again, math.
Okay, other bits of time traveling. Our latest Adafruit Internet of Things monthly newsletter went out. So we have a bunch of newsletters. We do not spam people. We don't harvest email addresses. We never use it for anything else. It's actually really even hard to sign up for our newsletters because they're on another website
I know.
called
It's so
adafruitdaily.com because we didn't want anyone to think their store account was ever connected to newsletter.
Different servers.
Anyways, so check out the latest one. And for the folks that were curious about our new no-code IoT feature, I guess it's a feature within IO.
It's
It's
like
a service, it's a thing. Yeah.
a new element, new
Yeah.
capability.
You can check that out. But basically,
You get a beta invite.
you can get a beta invite, anyone do it, and we call it Whippersnapper. So you can check out all the latest IoT projects that have nothing to do with Adafruit, and then some of the things that we're doing in the world of IoT and more. It's one of our popular newsletters. And speaking of popular newsletters, it's time for Python on Hardware.
Yay, Blinka. What's new in Python on hardware?
Glad you asked. So,
Let's go over to the newsletter. Okay.
so Scott was on the
Real Python?
the Real Python podcast, and this was building with CircuitPython and constraints of Python for microcontrollers. And tune in. I'm going to talk about Linux in a second. We're going to get to that. And a little bit of a congratulations, 150 issues altogether. We've done this newsletter
Wow.
150 times.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
We have almost like 10,000 subscribers, right? It's like 9,000.
Yeah, we're crossing the 9,000 mark. I think it's the most popular Python on hardware newsletter out there.
It's for sure, and it's free, and there's no ads, and we try to always put good stuff in it. I send stuff that I see. There's stuff that makes it to the blog, and some stuff that actually doesn't. That I'm like, oh, this is kind of for the newsletter, not the blog. So this is a. It doesn't replace the blog. It's good to have both because there's some overlap, but not fully.
Yeah. We have Arduino embracing Python. That was
Yes.
good to see.
We
We
had the
talked about that
Hackfest
last week.
project, second
Yeah,
day.
Professor John Gallagher has the Circuit Python School. This is a full video course
Oh, Blake
for
has
the
a
fall.
little Yeah.
Like it's kind of nice. Talk about our different issues.
Oh, I love this MTA sign thing.
MTA
So
sign?
they did the thing that's really hard. So by the way, anyone who's like, how hard could it possibly be to get proper MTA data? Actually really fucking hard. They use like this crazy protobuf format, and it's like, it doesn't tell you when the train's coming, just what track segment. It's like bonkers. So they simplified it, and they give you an endpoint that you can use to like get the
Yeah.
data you want, which is very nice of them.
All right. You can see some really neat CircuitPython powered games. So this is, Asteroids-like.
Yeah.
But it is a really, really, really neat.
Yes, and we've updated,
Gaming system.
we've been updating and improving the keyboard stuff, which is going to affect gaming, because now you can catch key presses even if you miss the button press. Like we have,
Yeah.
it captures an event.
Okay, so a lot of this more, and of course, there's still a ton of new bits of hardware that supports Python, and then there's also a lot going on with what you can do once you have Python on hardware. Lots of keyboard stuff, lots of machine learning stuff, lots of LED stuff. So this week's topic, ladyada, that I want to talk about,
Yes.
it's in the newsletter, is Linux turned 30 years old.
That's right.
And we have a little bit of a post about it.
Famous
Linus
Usenet
was doing
post.
this 30 years ago. So
Yes.
I have a two-part question for you. First up, why has Linux been so important? I'm not going to say like innovative, and I'm not going to say valuable, Because those are words that are normally not associated with like an open source.
Yeah, I don't think those are. I mean, I think those are like
Why did it work out?
They're
'Cause
clickbaity.
yeah.
I think Linux. One thing I will say is Linux did not really make it to the desktop, and I think that's actually okay. I mean, it did in a sense. Linux and BSD and
Chromebooks,
yeah, it's Chromebooks and underlying Mac OS 10, and of course there's the Windows subsystem Linux that's available in Windows 10 now. So every operating system that you would use on the desktop does have access to Linux or Unix-like operating systems underneath. I mean, it turns out that people they want more from an operating system, and that's fine. I think that where it's totally won, of course, is the servers and embedded machinery like that. It's just totally dominated by
And why
Linux.
do you think that is? Because that's the leap I don't see. A lot of these, like Linux 30 years, like why do you think it's used for that?
I think it is free. It's easy to develop for, but I think the thing that makes it so powerful is that you can strip apart. It's very modular in a sense, so you can strip it apart and strip it down to run on very simple hardware, but also build it up to create fairly complicated user interfaces. I mean, like you of course still see blue screens of death. Lots of things are still running Windows because Windows is essentially free with a computer. But one thing that's nice about Linux is it can really be customized in a way that, of course, Windows you'll never be able to. Because with Linux, you can create. We had a custom distribution that we did. You can really customize it. You can write device drivers. You can do the specialty stuff that is very hard to do with Linux. I mean, hard to do with Windows or Mac. With Linux, the moment you install Linux, you have access to all the tools you need to plug into it, to extend it, and customize it. And you see that a lot. A lot of embedded Linux distributions have custom binary blobs. You can argue whether that's good or bad, but it is something that you can do. If you want to, it's possible for a single individual to port Linux to something like the Raspberry Pi, right? Whereas porting Windows to the Raspberry Pi is just not possible. You have to get Windows involved. You have to get Microsoft to sign on to it. You don't have access to that.
Yeah.
And I think that customization, that ability, it's such a small. It's a thing that not many people need to do. But if you want to have hardware that has an operating system underneath it, and you need to have an operating system to do IoT stuff now. It's very, very hard to connect to the internet or to deal with massive amounts of data without
why
the
reinvent
underpinning.
that?
Yeah, it's just, you can have individual devices that are not Linux-based, but people always come to us and they're like, okay, I want to have Ethernet with SSL, what should I do? And I just say, just get a Raspberry Pi. If you're just, unless you are so power and size constrained, honestly, it's cheaper just to get embedded Linux to do what you want because you have access to all of the tools. You can parse data. You don't have to reinvent everything over and over again. So I think that's where, from a hardware point of view, that's where I think it's powerful.
And shout out to Bunny who saw this coming with the Chumby, where he was doing Linux on hardware before all of us.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I love the Chumby was amazing. It wasn't the first, the PC 104s I think had Linux beforehand. It wasn't the first embedded Linux board, but it was the first one where the idea was, here is a development board that has GPIO and that has Linux and that has just enough hardware capability to interface with. You can still see our first Chumby guide where I was like, oh my God, I connected an accelerometer to Linux and I could read accelerometer data and then send that over TCP/IP to something else. I don't even know if that people were using MQTT at the time, so it wasn't like I sent it to, maybe there was people that sent it to Patch Bay or something, but it was kind of amazing. It was like, okay, we've got hardware and you've got software and you can actually, that firmware got eaten by software. It just, I have opinions about
Right.
device drivers.
Part
but-
two of my question
Yeah.
is, so we're not the only authors, but we've tried to do something I think pretty important with Linux and Python, and we called it Blinka. How does that all interact? Because Linux had to happen for this to happen, and CircuitPython had to happen for
Yeah,
this
I
to
think
happen.
the computers just got fast enough. Embedded Linux computers got fast enough that they can run Python, and to me that's really powerful because I've spent. I know Python isn't perfect with versioning and packaging. There's flaws with it, but it's not nearly as for a lot of simple things. It's not nearly as extraordinarily frustrating as trying to cross compile C code. from from computer to computer, especially, when you're dealing with stuff like GPIO. Now we have the GPID, but historically you would have to, memory map stuff to get access to some of this hardware, which just kind of really made it very unportable. And so having a layer like Python made it easy. And I kind of, I liked Perl a lot more, but we saw Python sort of winning the interpreted language fight, and so we're like, okay, we're going to go all in on Python. And you can see my Linux Australia talk. There's a Linux Conference Australia talk, and it goes into this for like 45 minutes of the evolution of why I decided to have a CircuitPython compatibility layer on Linux. Suffice to say, we only really want to have one driver for every. I don't like to have 4 different drivers: one for MicroPython, one for C, one for SDK, one for Arduino. You can have one that's C-like and one that's Python-like, and we're done. Everything else, just try to stick to a standard. And so for us, CircuitPython and Blinka was that standard that we're now
76 different boards and
porting. And here's the thing, it actually works really well. We get very little support questions for all of the different boards. I mean, we get more questions asking to support new boards, but for the most part, you can pick up any of these devices and then pick up any of our I2C sensors and plug them in, and they will just work, which is like pretty cool.
Making it easy.
Pretty cool.
Okay. And that's, I want to spend a little time on this because it's important. Linux is 30 years.
Check out the LCA talk. Maybe someone can post the link, because it really, I spent a lot of time on it, and I think like January 21st or something. It was mid-January. And, because I remember you were helping me with the talk, and it really goes into, people are like, why did you decide to do this? I explain everything of why you can argue with me that I didn't decide right, but I'll explain to you why I decided it.
And while we're in here, people are asking about CircuitPython and are there third-party libraries? And yes, we have the community bundle, and a bunch of the
50 libraries,
a bunch of the contributors happen to just be in the chat too. So
I really look. I mean, I know
happy about
a new
this.
standard is a standard, which just means you have now another standard. But really, if you're going to write driver code that you want to run on Linux, please write it using our CircuitPython compatibility layer. We will take care of all the nonsense of making it work from board to board. And even I2C, you often need your GPIO pin for reset, or for address select, or for interrupt, and that stuff is not well exposed in Linux. That's the annoying part, is each board has a slightly different way of doing GPIO, and so we kind of abstracted that away for you. And yes, you could use Sisyphus, but sometimes Sisyphus isn't available, or that they don't use it, or it's very slow. So it's like it's a solution looking for a problem, or vice versa.
I'll put one more question in for this.
Yeah.
Is it safe to assume that any CircuitPython board that's in there now will be supported forever? Probably,
to some extent. I think that the
it might not be physically available.
The SAMD21s will eventually just not be able to support a lot of the stuff that we do, because the chips are just small. So I think I think the bigger chips, they're going to last longer. It's a little bit like Arduino. Like we still sell the original trinket with the AT-Tiny85, but I really don't recommend it. We tell people, don't buy this. People do, and we tell them, do not buy it. It's only for old projects.
Yeah, but to flip that around, it's when we do an update with CircuitPython, hundreds of boards get all updated now right away. Okay, and that's Python on Hardware this week. Okay, ladyada, we have 2,532 guides. At learn.adafruit.com this week on the big board.
Okay, we had a bunch of guides go live this week. All right, so we had the CNC milled keycaps and the 4x4 NeoPixel keypad. We're just finishing up some keyboard projects that working on. The CNC milled wooden keycaps is a pretty cool guide, because it's a very advanced guide on milling and jigging. Kattni wrote a guide for the new SCD40 and 41 CO2 sensors. We've also got Anne used to use a scramble pad at work, and so she kind of made a DIY scramble pad using the macro pad, which is cool. And it controls a solenoid, so it's showing how to connect some external hardware.
How about I show you it working?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I got it. I think this is the one. Yeah. So it scrambles it, you type the numbers in, and then I believe this is the unlock one, where the solenoid will... Yep,
Yay.
There it goes. Okay.
Okay, sweet.
What else you got going
on? We've got, Carter wrote a guide for people who are still using DHT11s and 22s. We really want you to stop doing that. Please stop using these sensors. They are not fun to use. They are very difficult, especially with Linux, because they require a real-time operating system. But even on Arduino, it kind of sucks, especially when there's a RTOS behind the scenes. So please don't use it. Cat in the Order Guide, we fixed up some audio playback on the RP2040 with CircuitPython. You can play MP3s on the RP2040 using CircuitPython. So that could be, even on something like the Pico where you don't have a lot of disk space, you can put on an MP3 and it can be a minute or two long. If it was mono and I think 16 kilobit per second, not the most amazing quality, but you also maybe that's all right. So check out that guide if you want some quick code to try it out. And from Known Pedro, we got a new prop this week. It's a 3D printed rat catcher controller.
Yeah,
we saw the Suicide Squad. Yeah, we'll have that in the video.
Okay, main New York City factory footage. Adafruit factory, take it away.
Try it. Oh, that's cool. Almost there.
And it wouldn't be Adafruit factory footage unless there was parts of the Disney building being
Many floors now.
driven there or being constructed.
Lots of beams.
This is a time lapse. And then I was testing out this black and white camera thing. And so I also have something to contribute this week. Here's a black and white photo of the outside of the front of Adafruit. And then I took this photo right before the show as the rain started coming into New York. You could see.
That's nice.
Yes. All right, 3D printing.
Time to catch some rats.
That's right. So we're going to play these two back to back. The first one is going to be the rat catcher, and then the second one is this 3D printed Geordie LaForge visor. So we can see this here. So see you on the other side.
Hey, what's up, folks? In this project, we're making Ratcatcher's Communicator from the Suicide Squad. The Ratcatcher Communicator is a device used by the Ratcatcher to control and manipulate swarms of rats. We were inspired by the Suicide Squad to 3D print the device and light it up with Adafruit Circuit Playground Express. CircuitPython is great for beginners who are looking to use NeoPixels in their cosplay projects. With the LED animation library, you can experiment with different effects using our demo code. With CircuitPython, you can quickly make changes and see your projects update in real time on just about any computer. The parts are 3D printed using different colors of filament. The various pieces are joined together with some hardware screws. The wireframe pieces are 3D printed with a bit of support material. With some adjustments to your slice settings, they easily come off with a pair of flat nose pliers. The handle has a few details like these knobs that are attached with screws. The pommel lines up with the mounting holes and secured in place with additional machine screws. This 2200 LiPo battery slides into the handle with the power cable facing out. We routed a JST extension cable through the stem piece with the excess wiring fitted through the holes in the bottom. The mount for the circuit playground is attached to the stem piece with more screws so it's nice and secured. The mounting holes on the circuit playground are lined up with the built-in standoffs and secured in place. The two domes are then attached to the stem piece again with more machine screws. The wireframe pieces are then fitted through the collar of the stem and secured with another set of screws. The handle can then be fitted under the stem with the two mounting holes lined up and secured with, you guessed it, more machine screws. To turn it on, just connect the battery cable to the JST extension and that's it! We hope this inspires you to use CircuitPython in your cosplay projects and check out Adafruit's Circuit Playground Express. And share your projects with us on Adafruit's weekly show and tell.
And don't forget 3D Hangouts in Don Pedro every single Wednesday at 11 a.m. Lady, are you ready?
Yes,
It's time for Eye on MPI.
that's right.
Eye on MPI.
Eye on NPI brought to you by DigiKey and Adafruit. Thank you, DigiKey. This week's on NPI is conductive containers. What is it? What do they do? What is this?
Okay, conductive containers.
What do I want this? I think I want this.
You do. Well, they're very nice packaging for electronics. We talk a lot about components and PCBs and soldering processes, but you also have to take your boards and you have to store them or you have to ship them, whether because you're shipping boards to a customer or a subcontractor or to your packaging location. And I've seen the packaging that CCI sells, but I kind of didn't think that I would want to buy it. And obviously, you want to buy it, right? Because you have to. You like many other manufacturers or makers need to ship around hardware, and they make a nice series of boxes. They make two types that we're going to cover here. One's called like the Pillow Stat, and these are ESD. Cardboard, ESD coated cardboard with ESD foam in two layers that kind of fold over each other, and that's the one I've got here. And then they've also got the Corestat, which is the corrugated like pink foam, and these I've definitely seen. I've had like VGA cards or whatever shipped in this. These are just larger. They have the corrugated foam, so they're better for, and the foam is softer. So these are better for like large PCBs and designs that you want to sell. And of course, you could put the boards inside of an anti-stat bag inside of here, but it is kind of nice because it's all anti-stat, the whole thing. It's from like top to bottom, nose to tail anti-stat. And another thing that's really nice about these packages is that they come in multiple off-the-shelf sizes. Now, you can absolutely, contact this company and get custom sizes. And if you're doing something with 100,000 or 10,000 pieces, I think they're in Michigan, and I'm sure they'd be happy to quote you and make it. But chances are you can use one of the off-the-shelf sizes. They have quite a few. Here are, pardon me. They have this is the, pardon me. They have the corrugated pack sizes, and you can see it's like 7x5 and 4x4 and 10x10. So multiple different sizes available off the shelf. The new thing for this week is the Pillow Stat, which are these thinner. They're kind of component boxes. You can use them for PCBs. I thought maybe you'd show that on the overhead real fast. how they come. So it's all black, but you can just deal with that.
Comes in Adafruit black.
Hold on, let me focus on. Okay, so they come, flat like this, packaged. So you can buy large quantities of them, and they come flat, and then you fold them up when you get them. And here, for example, I have a trinky, and then this is, very nice soft foam layer that can kind of cradle. If you have parts on the bottom, they won't get crushed, and then you fold over this foam, and then, hold on, maybe I'll
Yeah, you can probably even turn on the light.
turn on the light. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little bit nicer. Yes, you can even see the foam. So you have the foam, and then you cover it with foam, so now it has anti-stat foam on both sides, and then you fold both pieces over. And then on the top, you've got the ESD warning, and you can tape it closed if you want, and I've gotten parts, closed. I've got chips and LCDs and stuff in this packaging before. And then, the core stat, which is the pink foam, is larger. I neglected to get one of those, but you've probably seen hardware that you've received come in it. And what's nice is that you don't need to have, an anti-stat and then anti-stat bubble and then like an anti-stat box. It's kind of like all in one. It's very compact and effective, and it's very fast, especially if you can just get the off-the-shelf stuff.
All right, and then you have this other.
This is just
the
all the
website.
options for
So
the
if you
core
wanted
stat.
this.
This is the core stat, and this is the pillow stat. The pillow stat's kind of for thinner stuff, and the core stat's for larger stuff. And while you're at it, they do have other really cool stuff at CCI, which I recommend you check out. And DigiKey carries some of them. This is a really nice ESD, like all folded cardboard box with a little handle. They also have reel storage, which we use here, actually. Phil can look and see that we have all this core stat that's used to hold our reels here at the Adafruit factory. It's really durable. It looks great. It lasts for a very long time, even though it's just wax coated or whatever coated cardboard. We've used a lot of CCI stuff to do our ESD handling in house. I've heard from manufacturers who are like, I skipped an ESD step, and actually that's what was killing 10% of my boards. It's a super shame, if you go to all the effort to do some manufacturing and then, somebody who's a little bit dried out and staticky and wearing wool zaps your hardware. So that's why I recommend packaging it in ESD safe, all your PCBs in ESD safe materials. And we do that here at Adafruit, and now we have another option from CCI.
All right, available from DigiKey, and you can check out the short URL here, or the part number. You can search for it by its name, or 2079308.
And there's a whole series. I picked one box. I think this is the box that I've got here, but they have a bunch of different sizes, so don't...
And we dug up, they have a video channel, and we have a video, so we're going to play it. It's about a minute or so.
Okay.
We're going to play the video.
Correct pack shippers made with Corestat conductive corrugated. The outer box provides for the Faraday cage. You open up the containers has foam laminated to the top, loose in the bottom. The foam construction is convoluted where it has fingers and a base. If you put a board down in there, the foam on top comes down and encapsulates the board by the fingers up here matching the base here, and it surrounds the product so you don't have any movement once it's inserted into the box. The box is a front lock mailer, so the tabs lock in place just like that. It has all the appropriate symbols on it for ESD. This version is a pink non-permanent solution, so this would be a one-way shipper. You can upgrade the box to a black permanently dissipative foam, again convoluted, so it's universal. You can also change out the mailer portion of it to conductive fluted plastic, which adds a little more rigidity and longevity to the box. Correct pack shippers.
And that's this week's INPI.
Thanks, Corestat.
Art on NPI.
Okie dokie, ladyada, before we do new products, proximity's code.
Yes. Okay, we're ready for the new.
Let's do it. All right.
Okay, it's time for new.
So first
All right,
up,
so we got some MA keycaps. We've carried DSA keycaps or XDA keycaps.
want to just do all the colors right now?
Yeah, so we have
Okay.
white, we have cream white. I'll show you on the overhead too. We've got red, kind of like a nice cherry red. We've got this kind of cyan blue, light blue color. Keep going, the gumdrop deliciousness, blue, blue, blue. We've got like an orange, a deep orange, deep yellow orange. We've got like a creamsicle, nice orangey yellowish color.
Yeah,
And we've got a blink of purple.
a lot.
And we've got a kind of a pastel pink. Lots of colors. So,
Can you show this on the overhead?
oh yeah, I can show a bunch of colors. So, yeah, we just have a bunch of colors. Hold on, so many colors. Okay, so we can go to the overhead and I can show some of these off. So, all these different colors available, kind of a mint green. This is a little bit pale. Let me see if I can. Okay. So each one of these is MX compatible. It's got that cross at the bottom, so you know it's MX, so you can use it with Cherry MXs, you can use this with Gatorons, Kales, whatever, as long as they have that kind of standard cross at the bottom. All the buttons are totally symmetric, and you know what I like about them? They have this kind of this cool, like, they're square at the bottom, and then they kind of come up to this almost circular shape. It's got a little bit, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's got this little 60s, 70s kind of feel to it. It's a little bit more old school. They're chunky, but I like these keycaps. I think the colors are really good. Like this purple. It's not like a bright purple. It's kind of a nice chill purple. And the mint green is also quite nice. So because they're symmetric, you know, you can put them either way. I'll say, of course, they come blank. As you can see, you get 5 per, and they don't have any writing on them. You can write on them. You can also attach a sticker. Or you can do some sort of, embossing if you like. I don't think you should laser these because they're probably made with PVC, and so they're not going to laser very nicely. I'd recommend a sticker, or just you can draw on them, or just leave them like as is. But so these are called MA profile. So just keep that in mind. They're much taller than DSA or XDA profile.
Okay. Next up, Lady Ada, is
Okay. Next up, we've got the Rack Laura Hat Pi 4 enclosure. This is just the enclosure that you would fit a Pi 4 into. Again, you know, the Pi 4 switched around the Ethernet and USB, and there's 2 HDMI. So if you want to use the Rack Wireless Laura hat, which looks like, it just looks kind of like a square. So I'll show it on the overhead in a little bit. You would use this case. This case, it's a very nice case with the anodized aluminum, and it's got all the slots and holes to use the Laura hat. So let me show it. And it's not attached inside of it, but then maybe y'all can understand what I'm going for here. Okay. I've got these keycaps still hanging out. So this is the Pi 4, and you can see it's bolted to the bottom, and it's a nice case. And then over here you see all these holes and slots. Well, if you attach the hat, this is the LoRa concentrator hat, so it allows you to make a LoRa gateway, an 8-channel LoRa gateway with a Raspberry Pi. These holes let you mount all the antenna ports onto it. So, you know, this you don't have to use it with the LoRa hat, but like it's kind of designed for it, and it sort of makes the most sense. So I do recommend it. And of course, we also have a kit. You can go to the kit next. And the kit gets you the case, the hat, and a power supply. And you would basically just add in a Pi 4. The reason why the Pi 4 isn't included, whereas before we would try to include a Pi, is there's 4 different kinds of Raspberry Pi 4 with 1, 2, 4, and 8 gigabyte of memory. And, you know, some people might want more and they might want less. We don't want to assume, so instead, you know, you just add on the Pi 4, we have them in the shop, to make your LoRa gateway. And then once you've had this gateway, you know, of course, use the Pi 4 as a LoRa to internet gateway. You can then add other sensors that have LoRa radios to send data to the concentrator, which then uploads it to the internet, and now you've got your mesh network. Good for you.
okay. Next up.
Next up from Solder Party, if you have a Pi Pico and you're like, I want to use the keyboard feather wing from Solder Party, and you don't want to use it with a feather, you want to use it with Pico, this little couple dollar board is a little adapter thing, comes with some header, and you just sort of solder it in place with the attached header, and here you go, all the pins are rerouted. You could also use this for like generic feather wings, by the way. You don't have to use it for just the keyboard feather wing, but like, boy, it's designed exactly for it. It's got the mounting holes and everything ready to go.
Okay, and this isn't the start of the show, but it's up there because we have Trinky we're debuting, but I wanted to give this one special attention. This is the DigiKey key.
Yes, this was featured
DigiKey
in
key.
AdaBox 19. We found a supplier that would make us these custom keycaps, and we're just like so in love with them. So DigiKey logo looks awesome as a
it's the
keycap.
DigiKey logo.
And these are the ones that we have a couple left over from the the AdaBox. We always get extras in case we have to do replacements. We have a couple extra DigiKeys, of course, stocking this, and we're stocking it. If you have a keyboard, this is Cherry MX compatible, like almost every key we have. It has this glow-through design, so if you have an RGB keyboard or backlit keyboard, of course, it's going to look extra good. But it also looks good without, with the cool modernized DigiKey logo. So check it out on the DigiKey site or at Adafruit, and you can pair it up with our other cool custom keycaps, including the Adafruit one and
All right, here we go. World premiere.
more Trinkies.
Star of the product. Star of the show this week for the products. Besides you, Lady Ada.
Yes.
Our team. Our staff. Our
It's
customers.
a new Trinky.
There's Trinkies. This
A
one
new Trinky
is the
is
proximity
born.
Trinky.
Yeah. So the proximity Trinky is kind of the last Trinky of my first batch. I mean, we'll do more Trinkies, but this was the first kind of batch of Trinkies I put together. This Trinky, it features a SAMD21. It's a very low cost and small microcontroller board. Plugs into USB-A, and it features capacitive touch, some NeoPixels, and as Jelly's elegant waving shows you, it has a proximity sensor as well. It has an APDS9960. One of our favorite sensors. It's a low cost. It's only like $1 or so, and it has color, proximity, light, and even gesture. Gesture sensor, honestly, I don't think is nothing to write home about, but it does have it. But it's really good at proximity and color and light. That's what it's excellent for. It has built-in IR LEDs and detectors. And then, you can see how the color light does not interfere with the IR light, which is kind of nice. So you can have both these NeoPixels shining as well as the proximity, the IR light coming off of the proximity sensor to let you do distance sensing. And I thought this would be cool because you can plug it into your computer, and then you can have this new interface that most computers don't have. You can have mouse and keyboard, and sometimes there's a capacitive touch, but you rarely have a proximity sensing element. We saw that like Kano made a sensor like this, but I think it got discontinued. So we thought it would make for a great Trinky. So I thought I'd show a quick demo on the overhead.
Yeah, you could control a volume knob, a volume
All
slider.
sorts of stuff. You can do HID and MIDI, or have it. You can run Arduino or Circuit Python
Turn
on
pages.
it. Okay, so actually this is so if you see as my hand gets closer and farther, it's just making
Brighter.
the LED brighter. And then if I press this button, I can change the color. So it's just a demo showing capacitive touch, NeoPixels, and proximity. But the APDS is a really well-established, friendly and happy sensor that people have used at Arduino and Circuit Python. So I think it's an easy one to quickly integrate. And the proximity sensing, I think, is quite solid. It's one of the nicer surface mount proximity sensors that I've used. So it's a good way if you want to add like simple gestures or motion or hand movement up and down. And then there is a gesture sensor built. There is a gesture capability for doing side-to-side gesture sensing, but it's kind of a pain. I don't really like it. It requires like exactly the right speed, and it's hard to with practice you can get good at it. But I think for color sensing, light sensing, and proximity, this is great. And you just plug it into USB, so it's very easy to use. Boom,
Okay.
You got sensing, any computer.
And that is the new products for this week.
Thank you, Bat Trinky.
Okay, we're going to do a little bit top secret. While we do that, load up your questions over on adafruit.it/discord. We'll get to those in just a few moments. Please put them in Discord. Let's do some top secret, Lady Ada.
Okay.
We've got 2 things.
All right. First up,
We posted this on the socials and more. What is it?
I'm redoing all of our all of our sensor boards to be STEMMA QT, and the VEML 7700 was one of the last sensors we did in the old style before we added STEMMA QT connectors to everything. And so, I was looking at this sensor for some other reason, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot to convert this over to STEMMA QT. So I'm doing it, and I also found that we can get this sensor in both vertical and horizontal mount. It's the same sensor, but because the pads go around, it can stick out or it can stick up. And so I thought I'd make 2 versions, and that's why the light sensor is kind of at the top there. It's very rare to find a light sensor that's right angle. Usually they're just, they point straight out from the PCB. So I thought it could be interesting to make a version that's pointing outwards. And so you could edge mount it onto something if you wanted to do light sensing that way.
Okay, and then next up, you had a thing you wanted to show?
Oh, yeah, I can plug this in. Maybe I'll plug this into the battery and maybe this battery will work.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, okay. So for the...
I'm going to turn the light off on this.
I know, it does not like the bright LEDs. It's like, what are you doing?
Had it. I almost had it.
It doesn't
Got
like it.
Sort
Okay, that's good enough. So we had the LED ring mapping done, and now I did the matrix mapping. So you can see it's a 16x5 matrix of RGB LEDs. Yeah, it's freaking out again. But it actually kind of looks cool. It's got like a little bokeh look. And you can see that the LED mapping, especially around here with the rings, actually, I have to do focus lock. Especially around here with the rings, it's a little bit uneven, but it means that we can have an overlay ring as well as a matrix. That's why you see like this little lady right here is kind of pushed in a little bit, and this one's a little pushed out, and this one right here is where you see the ring and the matrix kind of intersect. But I think it's good enough.
Okay, and that's this week's top secret. Back in the vault.
Back in the vault. All right, let's answer a couple questions.
We're going to do some questions, and then
out.
I'm going to go fix a leak by a window.
Yeah, we got it. There's some water happening.
The glamorous life of running a company. Okay, so here's some of the questions. First one that I had lined up. Does the Adafruit BQ24074 solar charger simultaneously charge a LiPo battery and a power load?
Yeah, it's got a split. The power supply is load sharing.
Okay.
So it will, as long as you have enough solar power coming in, you can do both, but it will always prioritize the load over the battery.
Yeah, someone was asking about our Not Forever Trinkies, and I want to be really clear. Adafruit is making...
I haven't actually done it yet.
Adafruit's making physical electronics, and I made a joke that we're calling these Not Forever Trinkies. Adafruit does not do NFTs, and we don't endorse NFTs. But the Not Forever Trinkies, we have a bunch of them lined up. We just have to get to them.
Yeah.
We have a really there's some really unique parts that we'll be able to make like maybe 100, and that'll be it. And I think it's a fun thing. It's like a Not Forever Trinky, I guess. Yeah. Requests for our boards, USB-C. Folks like USB-C. It's good for everything, but not everything.
We tend to use it,
Good
but
for most
sometimes
things, but
we
not
don't.
everything. Yeah.
So if we don't, there's a reason we don't.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we do.
Okay.
There are some. There's always a reason if we don't.
Are the LEDs going out because of the camera, or is it actually the code?
That's just a camera.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, I think I got Jacob's ladder tricky.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll work on that.
High voltage trinkies aplenty.
Are we going to convert the TCS34725 color sensor to STEMMA as well?
We will, but we might find a different sensor. That sensor kind of drives me a little crazy.
Oh,
It's national
emergency alert.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you know it's really rainy?
Hey, global
It's a
pandemic.
storm.
No.
Yeah.
There's a flood warning
There's
for
a
our
flood
area.
tornado warning.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That's what this is going on.
Okay.
If you're using Oh, an air sensor trinky. That's a good idea.
Air sensor
Question: if you're
You
using
can use our STEMMA QT trinky and just plug in an air sensor.
You could do it.
I'm not going to make every sensor possible, so
Yeah,
just
but
beware.
but air sensor one, that's one up there because like everyone has air sensor things. Question: if you're using the LiPo charger with a feather, can you still use a feather USB for charging, or only the solar chargers USB? Do you need to disconnect the?
Don't connect the two. You can only use one or the other.
Proximity LEDs coming. Is that a question mark?
I don't understand what you're asking.
Proximity. Question: proximity LEDs glasses coming. Maybe they mean for the front.
I don't bump into things. I don't know what
Yeah.
to tell you.
Okay.
Look ahead of you.
Anyone have suggestions for a low-cost RF mixer that can down convert frequencies in the 1.4 gigahertz range to lower frequencies to be sampled with a low-cost analog digital converter for a radio telescope project?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know Mini Circuits carries that sort of thing. Yeah, you're going to pay for it, but it will do the job. So, Mini Circuits is carried by DigiKey, but you might have to go to the Mini Circuits site and search specifically. There's a bunch of like very RF specific module sellers. You'll have an SMA connector, and then you can go to town.
Okay, is there a way to detect someone touching any part of a circuit without using a visible foil as they'd use in passive touch? I noticed with the multimeter, the resistance goes up by 0.001 ohms.
Well, your multimeter can't measure 0.001 ohms.
Okay.
So, not really. I mean, you could try to put the capacitive touch layer in an inner layer, but I think if you wanted to do that, you would have done that. So the fact that you're asking kind of makes me think you're trying to do it without any copper, and that's not possible.
Okay. Suggestions for positioning indoors.
We covered last week's IMPI. We covered a indoor positioning system that you can use with Bluetooth.
Okay. When we were showing the proximity trinky, someone was thinking of a theremin. Could you make a theremin with it?
Yeah, you can put it there.
There you go. Theremin trinky. Maybe we missed out on the proximity trinky. Maybe it shouldn't have been a bat. Maybe it should have been some theremin playing.
I think that the theremin's a little bit too easy. I like that it's not just a theremin. It does other things.
Okay. You're okay with being a bat?
Yes.
All right.
Also, a theremin is a two-part. It's more complicated. It's not proximity. It's capacitive load, and it doesn't do that. It's something else.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation for a cheap CircuitPython Wi-Fi board?
Yeah, check out the ESP32S2s.
Okay, is it crazy that I want to use STEMMA QT for NeoPixel strands?
Not a great idea because the wires are quite thin. It's not high power.
Okay. And I think, let me just make sure. Yeah, 2 inches of rain everywhere, thanks, yeah. Everyone's getting, like, if you're on the East Coast right now,
It's rain time.
It's like, yep, rain. Okay, well, that's our questions for tonight.
Okay,
Adriana.
well, we did a lot of questions.
We did a bunch of questions tonight.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody. We'll continue to monitor the chats. Oh, one just snuck in. I'll do it right before Any other RP 2040 boards coming?
Tons.
No. And that's as much as we can say.
It's not out yet. Don't ask.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
All right, that's our show for night this week. Thank you, Jesse May,
raining.
behind the scenes. It is
Yes.
super rainy. I have to go fix a leak
Go fix a
and
leak.
more. And please, everyone, stay safe and do all the things you need to do to continue to stay safe. I'd very much like to see people in person one day at some type of giant gathering where we all get to hang out and show our projects together. But until then, we have show and tells. We have Ask an Engineer. We can keep doing this. We'll keep sending out all these cool electronics for you. We'll keep doing open source. We'll keep publishing. We'll do all these things because you all seem to like it. And if you're going to support us, save 10%. Save a few bucks.
Proximity.
Proximity
All
is the code.
I can tell it's getting wet in here.
Yeah, so we'll see everybody next week. I'm going to do a moment of Zener. I'm going to play a little bit of music. And then we went on a Ferris wheel in Times Square, and I'm going to play 1 minute footage from that.
Okay.
All right, here's your moment of Zener. Bye, everybody. Have a good week.
Stay dry.
We just got here. They haven't met me yet.
I'm a sucker for stuff like this. I don't know.
This is the year 2021, and there's a global pandemic, and we're on a Ferris wheel in Times Square.
It's super fun.